Valdeci Santana jamais imaginaria que às 5 da manhã daquela quinta-feira cinzenta ele encontraria uma mulher abandonada numa cadeira de rodas na beira da BR-116. Aparecida dos Santos tinha sido largada ali pela própria família na noite anterior, como se fosse lixo descartável. O próprio filho dela disse que Aleijada só dá despesa e que era melhor ela tentar sorte na estrada. Mas o que esse caminhoneiro de 53 anos fez por essa mulher desprezada mudaria a vida de ambos para sempre. Porque quando Valdeci descobriu o talento extraordinário que Aparecida escondia e quando ela transformou sua dor em uma vingança silenciosa contra todos que a humilharam, o que aconteceu deixou a cidade inteira de boca aberta. Em menos de um ano, aquela mulher que foi jogada fora como um animal se tornou alguém que ninguém esperava, e a reviravolta foi tão poderosa que até os que a abandonaram voltaram implorando perdão. Você consegue imaginar uma pessoa sendo abandonada como se fosse um animal? O que você está prestes a ver vai mexer com sua alma de uma forma que você nunca imaginou. Comenta aí de onde você está assistindo, porque essa história precisa ser conhecida no mundo todo. E se você ainda não se inscreveu no canal, se inscreve aí que vem muito mais histórias emocionantes como essa. Aperta o sininho também para não perder nenhuma. Era uma quinta-feira cinzenta de julho quando Valdeci Santana viu pela primeira vez aquela cena que mudaria sua vida para sempre. O vento frio cortava a BR-116 como uma navalha, levantando a poeira seca do asfalto rachado. Às 5h40 da manhã, ainda na escuridão que precede o nascer do sol, os farões de sua Scania azul marinho rasgavam a neblina como dois olhos amarelos procurando por algo perdido na estrada. Valdeci tinha 53 anos, cabelos grisalhos sempre cobertos por um boné da Petrobras desbotado e mãos calejadas de quem segurava o volante há mais de 30 anos. Sua pele morena, marcada pelo sol de dezenas de milhares de quilômetros percorridos pelas estradas do Brasil, contava histórias que ele nunca dividiu com ninguém. Viúvo há 8 anos, desde que sua Conceição partiu vítima de um câncer silencioso que a levou em apenas 4 meses, Valdeci havia se tornado um homem de poucas palavras e muitas reflexões. O caminhão estava carregado com 15 toneladas de soja que saíam do Mato Grosso com destino ao Porto de Santos. Era a mesma rota que ele fazia há 2 décadas, uma estrada que conhecia de cor, cada curva, cada lombada, cada posto onde parava para abastecer e tomar um café preto forte. Mas naquela manhã, algo estava diferente. Quando os faróis iluminaram o acostamento próximo ao quilômetro 847, Valdeci pisou no freio instintivamente. Ali, sentada numa cadeira de rodas velha e enferrujada, estava uma mulher. Ela usava um vestido floreado azul desbotado, um casaco de lã cinza que parecia grande demais para seu corpo franzino, e tinha os cabelos castanhos escuros presos num rabo de cavalo simples. Suas mãos estavam cruzadas no colo, e ela olhava para o horizonte com uma expressão de resignação que parecia aceitar qualquer destino que viesse. Valdeci parou o caminhão alguns metros à frente e desceu da cabine. O vento frio bateu em seu rosto como um tapa e ele puxou a jaqueta jeans mais para perto do corpo. Seus passos ecoaram no asfalto vazio enquanto caminhava de volta até onde a mulher estava. Deve ter uns 40 anos, pensou ele, observando as linhas finas ao redor de seus olhos castanhos que pareciam ter chorado recentemente. Havia uma dignidade em sua postura, mesmo na situação em que se encontrava, que o impressionou imediatamente. "Bom dia", disse Valdeci, tirando o boné numa demonstração de respeito que sua mãe havia lhe ensinado ainda pequeno. A mulher ergueu os olhos para ele, e Valdeci viu algo que o pegou desprevenido. Não era desespero como ele esperava encontrar, não era medo ou súplica, era uma estranha mistura de gratidão e surpresa, como se ela não esperasse que alguém parasse. "Bom dia, senhor", respondeu ela com uma voz suave, embora levemente rouca de frio e cansaço. "A senhora está bem? O que a senhora está fazendo aqui a essa hora?" Ela respirou fundo antes de responder, como se estivesse reunindo coragem para contar uma história que doía só de lembrar. "Meu nome é Aparecida dos Santos, mas todo mundo me chama de Cida. Minha família me deixou aqui na noite passada." Valdeci sentiu o estômago apertar. "Como assim deixaram a senhora aqui?" Cida olhou para suas próprias mãos antes de continuar. "Desde o acidente que me deixou assim, há 3 anos. Eu moro com meu filho Robson e minha nora Simone." Ou melhor, morava. Ontem eles me disseram que não dava mais, que Aleijada só dá despesa, que eles não tinham condições de me manter. Me trouxeram aqui e falaram que era melhor eu tentar a sorte na estrada, que talvez alguém com mais condições pudesse me ajudar. O sangue de Valdeci ferveu. Em todos os seus anos na estrada, ele havia visto muita coisa. Acidentes horríveis, pessoas em situações desesperadas, miséria humana de todo tipo. Mas abandonar uma pessoa indefesa na beira da estrada como se fosse lixo era algo que ultrapassava qualquer limite de crueldade que ele conseguia compreender. E a senhora ficou a noite toda aqui? Sim, senhor, desde as 8 da noite. Passou alguns caminhões, mas ninguém parou. Eu entendo, né? Ninguém quer problema. Uma aleijada velha como eu. Para de falar assim de si mesma, interrompeu Valdeci com uma firmeza que o surpreendeu. A senhora não é aleijada. A senhora é uma pessoa que precisa de ajuda, e qualquer um que não vê isso é que tem problema. Cida o olhou com uma expressão de surpresa. Fazia tanto tempo que alguém falava com ela com essa humanidade que ela havia quase esquecido como era ser tratada como gente. O senhor é muito gentil, mas não precisa se preocupar comigo. Eu sei que sou um fardo. Meu próprio filho me disse isso tantas vezes que eu acabei acreditando. Valdeci se agachou na frente da cadeira de rodas para ficar na altura dos olhos dela. Escuta aqui, dona Cida. Não me importa o que seu filho disse. Não me importa o que ninguém disse. A senhora é um ser humano, e ser humano não é fardo. É responsabilidade nossa cuidar um do outro. Pela primeira vez desde que havia sido abandonada, Cida sentiu os olhos se encherem de lágrimas. Mas eram lágrimas de alívio, de gratidão, de uma esperança que ela pensava ter perdido para sempre. A senhora tem fome? Perguntou Valdeci. Muita. Não como desde ontem de manhã. Então vamos resolver isso primeiro. Depois a gente vê o que fazer. Valdeci empurrou a cadeira de rodas até o caminhão. A cadeira era velha, uma das rodas rangia a cada volta e o estofado estava desgastado e rasgado em alguns pontos. Mas ela funcionava, e isso era o que importava no momento. Desculpa perguntar, mas como é que a gente vai fazer para a senhora subir na cabine? Eu consigo me transferir, disse Cida. Minhas pernas não funcionam, mas meus braços ainda são fortes. Se o senhor puder me dar apoio... Valdeci a ajudou pacientemente. Cida se agarrou na porta da cabine e, com um movimento que mostrava prática, conseguiu se transferir da cadeira para o banco do passageiro. Valdeci dobrou a cadeira e a colocou atrás dos bancos, junto com suas poucas tralhas que estavam numa sacola plástica velha. A cabine do caminhão era espartana, mas limpa. Havia uma pequena cama atrás dos bancos, um frigobar pequeno, um rádio CB e algumas fotos coladas no painel. Cida notou uma foto de um casal mais jovem sorrindo numa praia. "É sua família?" perguntou ela. "Era. Minha esposa Conceição. Ela morreu há 8 anos. Sinto muito. Obrigado. Ela era uma boa mulher. Igual a minha mãe. Dizia que a gente tem que ajudar quem precisa, porque um dia pode ser a gente que vai precisar." Valdeci ligou o motor e voltou para a estrada. O sol começava a nascer no horizonte, pintando o céu de um laranja suave, que contrastava com o cinza da madrugada. Ele dirigiu até o próximo posto de combustível, uma parada grande com lanchonete, loja de conveniência e até chuveiros para os caminhoneiros. Estacionou o caminhão na área destinada aos veículos pesados e ajudou Cida a voltar para a cadeira de rodas. Ela se movimentava com uma agilidade que o impressionou, mostrando que havia se adaptado bem à sua condição, apesar das circunstâncias. A lanchonete estava começando a abrir. Uma mulher gorda de uns 50 anos, com um avental florido e expressão cansada de quem acorda muito cedo todos os dias, os recebeu no balcão. "Bom dia, Valdeci", disse ela. "O de sempre?" "Bom dia, Neuza. Hoje vai ser diferente. Quero 2 porções de ovos com bacon, pão francês, café com leite bem forte e, se tiver alguma fruta." A mulher olhou para Cida com curiosidade, mas sem julgamento. Quem trabalhava na estrada aprendia a não fazer muitas perguntas. "Tenho banana e maçã." "Perfeito. Traz uma de cada." Enquanto esperavam a comida, Valdeci observou Cida olhando ao redor com uma mistura de timidez e fascinação. Ela claramente não estava acostumada a frequentar esse tipo de lugar. "A senhora nunca havia entrado numa lanchonete de posto?" "Não, senhor. Desde o acidente, eu quase não saía de casa. Robson e Simone diziam que era melhor eu ficar em casa, que dava muito trabalho me levar para os lugares. E antes do acidente, a senhora trabalhava? Os olhos de Cida se iluminaram pela primeira vez. Eu era costureira, tinha minha própria oficina em casa. Não era nada grande, mas eu costurava para várias mulheres da vizinhança. Vestidos de festa, roupas para criança, concertos. Eu amava meu trabalho. O que aconteceu? Um acidente de trânsito. Eu estava voltando da casa de uma cliente numa sexta-feira à noite, quando um carro bateu na traseira do ônibus que eu estava. O ônibus capotou. 3 pessoas morreram. Eu sobrevivi, mas minha coluna foi severamente danificada. Os médicos disseram que eu nunca mais ia andar. E sua oficina? Robson vendeu tudo. Disse que eu não ia mais conseguir trabalhar mesmo, então era melhor vender as máquinas para ajudar a pagar o hospital. Mas a senhora ainda sabe costurar, né? As mãos funcionam normalmente. Cida mostrou suas mãos, que tinham dedos finos e ágeis, claramente acostumados ao trabalho delicado. Sim, minhas mãos estão normais. Às vezes eu sonho que estou costurando again. Eram sonhos bons. A comida chegou e Valdeci observou como Cida comia devagar, saboreando cada garfada como se fosse a última refeição de sua vida. Ela havia passado a noite toda sem comer e provavelmente não fazia uma refeição decente há dias. A senhora tem algum lugar para ir? Algum parente, amigo? Cida balançou a cabeça negativamente. Meus pais morreram há muito tempo. Só tenho o Robson, e você já viu como é. Nunca me casei. O Robson é um filho que eu adotei quando ele tinha 5 anos. Achei que criar uma criança sozinha ia ser difícil, mas que o amor compensaria tudo. Parece que eu me enganei. A voz dela ficou mais fraca ao final, carregada de uma tristeza que ia além da situação atual. Era a dor de quem havia dedicado a vida a alguém e descobriu que esse alguém era capaz de abandoná-la quando mais precisava. Valdeci terminou seu café e ficou em silêncio por alguns minutos pensando. Ele havia parado para ajudar uma pessoa em necessidade, mas agora se dava conta de que a situação era mais complexa do que imaginava. Não era apenas uma questão de dar uma carona até a próxima cidade. Cida precisava de um lugar para ficar, de uma forma de se sustentar, de reconstruir sua vida do zero. "Escuta", disse ele finalmente, "eu vou fazer uma proposta para a senhora. Eu tenho uma casa em Resende, no interior do Rio. É uma casa simples, mas tem 2 quartos. Desde que minha esposa morreu, eu fico mais tempo na estrada do que em casa mesmo. Se a senhora quiser, pode ficar lá uns tempos, até a gente arranjar uma situação melhor para a senhora." Cida parou de comer e olhou para ele com incredulidade. "Senhor Valdeci, o senhor nem me conhece. Por que faria isso por uma estranha?" "Porque minha mãe me ensinou que gente desconhecida não existe. Só existe gente que a gente ainda não conhece. E porque se fosse minha esposa nessa situação, eu ia querer que alguém ajudasse ela também. Mas eu não tenho como pagar nada. Não tenho dinheiro, não tenho trabalho. Quem falou em pagamento? E quem disse que a senhora não pode trabalhar? Se a senhora sabe costurar, tem mercado para isso. As mulheres de Resende vivem reclamando que não tem ninguém boa de costura na cidade." Pela primeira vez em 3 anos, Cida sentiu algo que havia esquecido completamente: esperança. Não era apenas a gratidão por ter comida e abrigo, mas a possibilidade real de reconstruir sua vida, de voltar a ser útil, de ter um propósito. "Eu não sei o que dizer", murmurou ela, com os olhos novamente cheios de lágrimas. "Não precisa dizer nada agora. A gente vai devagar, um dia de cada vez." Valdeci pagou a conta e ajudou Cida a voltar para o caminhão. Ele havia tomado uma decisão que mudaria a vida de ambos, embora ainda não soubesse exatamente como. A viagem até Resende levou o resto do dia. Valdeci precisou fazer 2 paradas para descarregar parte da carga em outras cidades, e em cada parada, Cida ficava observando o movimento com curiosidade. Ela fazia perguntas sobre o trabalho dele, sobre os lugares que visitava, sobre como era a vida na estrada. "O senhor não se sente sozinho?" perguntou ela durante uma dessas conversas. "Às vezes, mas a solidão da estrada é diferente da solidão de casa. Aqui eu posso fingir que estou indo para algum lugar. Em casa, eu fico pensando em quem não está mais lá. Eu entendo. Depois do acidente, mesmo morando com o Robson, eu me sentia mais sozinha do que quando morava alone. Pelo menos, quando eu morava sozinha, eu podia fingir que a solidão era a escolha minha." Era final de tarde quando chegaram a Resende. A cidade era small but charming, com ruas arborizadas e casas simples que respiravam tranquilidade. A casa de Valdeci ficava num bairro residencial quiet, uma construção de 2 andares com um pequeno jardim na frente que estava claramente neglected. "Desculpa a bagunça", disse ele ao abrir a porta. "Faz tempo que eu não venho aqui por muito tempo seguido." A casa tinha uma sala pequena, mas aconchegante, uma cozinha funcional e um quarto no térreo que seria perfeito para Cida, já que ela não precisaria subir escadas. O quarto tinha uma cama de casal, um guarda-roupa antigo, mas bem conservado, e uma janela que dava para o jardim dos fundos. "Este quarto aqui era de visitas, mas a senhora pode ficar com ele. Tem banheiro social aqui embaixo também, então a senhora não vai ter problema de accessibility." Cida olhou ao redor do quarto como se estivesse vendo um palácio. Depois de passar uma noite na beira da estrada achando que ia morrer de frio, ter uma cama limpa e um teto sobre a cabeça parecia um milagre. "Eu vou no mercado comprar umas coisas para a senhora comer. Tem alguma coisa específica que a senhora precisa?" "Valdeci, eu não sei como vou retribuir tudo isso." "A senhora não precisa retribuir nada, mas se quiser me fazer um favor, para de me chamar de senhora e me chama pelo nome. Eu sou a Cida." "Está bem, Cida. E você me chama de Valdeci mesmo, não precisa de cerimônia." Ele saiu para fazer compras e voltou 1 hora depois com sacolas cheias de comida, produtos de higiene e até algumas roupas básicas que havia comprado numa loja do centro. Cida havia aproveitado sua ausência para tomar um banho demorado, o primeiro em dias, e se sentia human again. Durante o jantar, uma refeição simples de arroz, feijão, bife acebolado e salada que Valdeci preparou with surprising skill, eles continuaram conversando. Cida contou mais sobre sua vida before the accident, sobre os vestidos beautiful que costumava fazer, sobre os clientes que se tornaram amigas, sobre o prazer que sentia em transformar tecido em something beautiful. Valdeci falou sobre sua vida na estrada, sobre os lugares que visitava, sobre other drivers que conhecia. Ele também falou sobre Conceição, sobre como eles se conheceram numa festa junina quando ela tinha apenas 17 anos, sobre os planos que tinham de ter filhos que never materialized porque ela never conseguiu engravidar. Era quase meia-noite quando Cida começou a bocejar. Valdeci a ajudou a se transferir para a cama e garantiu que ela tinha tudo o que precisava antes de ir para seu próprio quarto. Sozinho em seu quarto, ele olhou para a foto de Conceição na cabeceira da cama. Era a primeira vez em 8 anos que havia another person na casa e, strange as it seemed, ele se sentia peaceful, como se finalmente tivesse feito something que ela aprovaria. Na manhã seguinte, Valdeci acordou com o cheiro de café fresh, desceu para a cozinha e encontrou Cida preparando breakfast. Ela havia descoberto where everything estava e prepared um café completo with ovo mexido, tapioca and fresh fruit. "Bom dia", disse ela with a smile that transformed her face completely. "Espero que não se importe, eu queria fazer alguma coisa por você." "Claro que não me importo, faz tempo que ninguém prepara café da manhã por mim." Depois do café, Valdeci mostrou o resto da casa for Cida, incluindo um pequeno room nos fundos que havia sido o workspace de Conceição. Ela gostava de fazer bordados and had left behind a sewing machine antiga but funcionando. "A senhora acha que conseguiria work com essa máquina?" perguntou ele. Cida testou a máquina and her eyes lit up. "Esta máquina é better do que as que eu tinha. Com ela eu posso fazer qualquer coisa." "Então considera desse seu novo workspace. Se você conseguir alguns clients, pode começar again." Durante os dias seguintes, Valdeci precisou fazer mais algumas viagens, mais shorter ones para que pudesse voltar home more frequently. Cida aproveitou esse tempo to explore the house and the neighborhood, sempre dentro das limitações de sua mobility. Uma tarde, ela estava no jardim quando uma neighbor, uma woman de meia-idade, called Marlene, approaches the fence. "Oi, você é a new pessoa que está morando com o Valdeci?" perguntou ela with open curiosity. "Sou sim, meu nome é Aparecida, mas pode me chamar de Cida." "Que bom! O Valdeci é uma boa pessoa, mas vivia muito sozinho desde que a Conceição morreu. É bom saber que ele tem companhia agora." Cida explained que era apenas uma temporary situation, que Valdeci estava ajudando ela until que conseguisse se estabilizar. Mas Marlene parecia genuinely interested em fazer friendship. "Você sabe costurar?" Perguntou-she suddenly. Porque eu tenho uma filha que vai casar ano que vem e estou doida to find uma boa costureira para fazer o vestido da noiva. Sei sim, era meu trabalho antes de Before Everything Changed. Seriously? Você pode dar uma olhada num desenho que eu tenho aqui em home? That afternoon, Marlene brought several magazines with wedding dress pictures e asked Sida se ela conseguiria fazer something similar. Sida analyzed the designs with professional eye e garantiu que podia fazer não só o vestido da noiva, mas também os vestidos das madrinhas. Word spread quickly pela neighborhood. Em menos de uma semana, Sida tinha 3 customers interessadas em seus services. Valdeci ajudou her to set up properly workspace and even bought um manequim e other equipment que ela needs. A primeira encomenda foi um vestido de festa for a formatura da neta de uma neighbor. Sida trabalhou com dedication and skill que haviam ficado dormant por 3 years, mas que voltaram as se ela never tivesse parado. Quando o vestido ficou ready, the result foi beyond das expectations de todos. Era uma peça elegant and perfectly fitted que transformou a young girl em a princess. Meu Deus, Sida, disse a grandmother quando viu a granddaughter wearing o vestido. Você tem um gift, eu nunca vi um trabalho tão bem feito. Word of mouth funcionou quickly in a small city like Resende. Logo, Sida tinha lista de customers esperando e estava earning enough money para contribuir with as household expenses, apesar de Valdeci insistir que não era necessário. 3 meses depois de ter sido abandonada na estrada, Sida had completely transformed her life. She havia voltado a ser a costureira talented que sempre foi, tinha uma home comfortable and, mais importantly, tinha recovered her autoestima and sense of purpose. Valdeci também had changed. Ele voltou a spending more time at home, enjoying a companhia de Sida e a vida doméstica que havia missed so much. They developed uma rotina comfortable together. She prepared breakfast while ele checked seus e-mails de trabalho. They had dinner together todas as noites quando ele estava em town and spent evenings conversation about their days. Foi numa dessas conversas que Sida brought up um topic que had been bothering her. Valdeci, I've been thinking, você acha que eu deveria try to get in contact com o Hobson again? He put down seu café and looked at her seriously. Por quê? Depois do que ele fez com você? Eu sei que foi wrong, mas ele é meu son. Maybe se ele vir que eu estou bem again, que eu consegui rebuild minha vida. Sida, disse Valdeci gently, eu entendo que você tenha love por ele, mas people who são capable de abandonar someone na beira da estrada da forma que ele fez, isso not é something que changes easily. Mas she had already made her decision. Uma semana later, ela asked uma neighbor to help her enviar uma carta para Hobson, contando about her new life e dizendo que she forgave him pelo que havia acontecido. A resposta came 2 weeks later, but não foi exatamente o que ela esperava. Hobson apareceu na porta numa tarde de sábado, mas não estava alone. Havia uma woman com ele que Sida didn't recognize, mais old than Simone e com uma expressão calculating que immediately put Valdeci em guard. Mãe, disse Hobson com uma smile forçado que não reached seus olhos. Que bom ver que você está well. Esta é a Vera, minha new namorada. Sida invited them in, hoping que this visit signified uma reconciliation genuine. Mas logo ficou clear que eles tinham other intentions. Então, mãe, disse Hobson depois de alguns minutos de small talk, eu soube que você está working again. Que bom, sempre soube que você conseguiria se recover. A hipocrisia in his voice foi so obvious que até mesmo Sida, que wanted desperately to believe in his good intentions, noticed. Eu vim aqui porque I've been thinking muito about o que happened, continuou ele. Eu sei que I made a mistake e I want to make it right. Eu vim to ask você para voltar para home com a gente. Vera added with a smile que seemed rehearsed. É verdade, Sida. O Hobson fala de você o time todo. A house não é the same sem você. Valdeci, who had been silent até então, finally spoke. Desculpa, mas I don't understand. Vocês abandonaram ela na beira da estrada 3 meses atrás dizendo que Aleijada só dá despesa. O que changed? Hobson's smile faltered slightly. Olha, friend, eu appreciate você ter helped minha mãe quando ela needed, mas agora family matters são entre a gente, não tem nothing to do com você. Has everything to do comigo, replied Valdeci firmly. Cida is not apenas alguém que eu ajudei, ela é minha friend, ela mora na minha house e I care about what happens com ela. É interessante, interrompeu Vera, como essas amizades appear quando people have money coming in again, isn't it, Hobson? The implication foi clear e Valdeci felt his blood boil. Mas before que ele could respond, Cida spoke. Hobson, por que you really vieram aqui? Her son shifted uncomfortably before answering. Well, mãe, the truth é que Simone e eu nos separated. E the house, bem, I had to sell a house para pay algumas debts. Eu estou staying com a Vera now, but her apartment is small. Se você voltasse para home with us, we could rent a place bigger e com your income da costura. Now everything made sense. They hadn't come because they missed her or because they were sorry. They had come porque they needed her money. Cida felt uma wave of disappointment so deep que ela thought ela might be sick. This was her son, the child que ela had raised with so much love, e ele was treating her like uma financial opportunity. Hobson, disse she quietly, I thank você pela offer, mas eu estou happy here. Eu tenho my work, eu tenho uma good home e eu tenho uma friend que cares about me as a person, not as uma fonte de income. Hobson's mask finally fell completely. Come on, Mai, don't be ungrateful. After everything que I did for you depois do accident. Everything que você did, interrupted Valdeci, standing up. Você sold her sewing machines without asking. You made her feel like a burden in her own home. E when you decided que ela was too much trouble, você abandonou ela na beira da estrada to die. Qual parte disso was doing something for her? Vai se meter na sua vida, old man, snapped Hobson, também standing up. This é between me e minha mãe. Your mãe already answered. Ela disse não. But ela ainda é minha mãe. E eu tenho rights. You gave up qualquer rights quando você deixou ela na estrada, disse Valdeci, moving closer to Robson. E now I'm asking você nicely to leave me a house. The tension na room era palpable. Vera tugged in Hobson's arm, apparently sensing que the situation was escalating beyond their control. Vamos embora, Hobson. É clear que your mind made her choice. Ela prefere esse stranger over her own family. Before leaving, Hobson turned to Cida uma last time. You're making a mistake, mãe. Este cara probably só wants sua money também. Quando você descobrir isso, don't come running back para mim. After they left, Cida broke down crying. Not because of Hobson's final words, mas because of the final confirmation que o filho que ela had raised with so much love foi capaz de such cruelty. Valdeci held her gently while ela cried, promising que everything seria okay, que she tinha made the right choice, que ela deserved muito melhor than what Hobson had offered. Nas weeks que followed, Cida threw herself into her work with renewed energy. She started taking orders for more elaborate pieces, including wedding dresses e evening gowns que attracted clients from neighboring cities. Her reputation as uma skilled costureira spread quickly, e soon ela tinha more work do que ela podia fazer alone. It foi Marlene, a primeira neighbor to become her friend, que sugeriu uma solução. Cida, por que você doesn't think about opening um small atelier? There's uma commercial space for rent na Main Street que seria perfect. You could have proper equipment, fitting room, maybe even hire uma assistant. The idea foi tempting, mas Cida worried about the investment necessary. When ela mentioned a ideia to Valdeci, he immediately offered to help com o initial capital. I've been saving money for years without anything to spend on, ele said. This seria uma good use para the money. E além disso, it's não um gift, it's a business loan. You can pay me back quando o ateliê estiver profitable. 3 months later, Ateliê Cida opened on Rua Principal, em Resende. Era uma small but elegant space com 2 fitting rooms, displays para showcase finished pieces e work area onde Cida could create her designs. A opening day foi uma celebration para toda a neighborhood. People came not só to see um new business, mas também to show support para uma woman que had overcome so much adversity to rebuild her life. Valdeci estava so proud que he felt his chest might burst. He watched Cida interacting com customers, explaining designs, taking measurements e being tratada with o respect que ela deserved as a professional. This foi a far cry from a woman que had been abandoned na beira da estrada 9 months earlier. As months passed, o ateliê became increasingly successful. Cida hired 2 assistants e started offering classes in sewing para young women na community. Ela também started designing e producing uma small line of ready-to-wear pieces que sold well na local market. But o sucesso profissional foi only part da transformação. Cida had regained not so her livelihood, mas also her confidence e her sense of self-worth. She walked taller, smiled more often e spoke com autoridade about her craft. Valdeci também had transformed. He had cut back on long-distance trips, focusing on shorter routes que allowed him to be home more often. He loved having someone to come home to, someone who cared se ele had eaten properly, someone who asked about his day e actually listened to an answer. Their friendship had deepened into something que neither of them wanted to define too closely. They cared for each other deeply, mas both carried scars from their past que made them cautious about opening their hearts completely. One evening in early December, as Christmas lights began to appear throughout Resende, Valdeci arrived home to find Cida sitting at the kitchen table with papers spread before her. She looked up with an expression he had rarely seen, a mixture of excitement and nervousness that made her appear almost girlish. "Valdeci," she said, her voice barely containing her enthusiasm, "you need to see this." He set down his keys and approached the table, where invoices, receipts, and bank statements created a mosaic of numbers. Cida pointed to a figure circled in red at the bottom of a ledger. "This is what the atelier earned this month," she said. "And this," she pointed to another number, "is what I owe you for the initial loan." Valdeci studied the papers, his weathered fingers tracing the columns of figures. The profit margin was impressive for such a young business, but what struck him most was the meticulous organization of every record. Cida had approached her business with the same precision she applied to her sewing. "I can pay you back in full," she continued, "with interest, but I have another proposal." She pulled out a folder he hadn't noticed before and opened it to reveal architectural sketches and business plans. The drawings showed an expanded atelier, larger workspace, more fitting rooms, a dedicated area for classes, and even a small cafe corner. "There's a property for sale 3 blocks from here," Cida explained, her words coming faster now. "The owner wants to sell quickly, and the price is reasonable. It's perfect for what I want to create, not just an atelier, but a center where women can learn skills, start their own businesses, maybe even sell their work in a cooperative." Valdeci looked at the sketches, impressed by the thoroughness of her vision. She had thought of everything: traffic flow, natural lighting for the work areas, even a small childcare corner where mothers could leave their children while they took classes. "It's ambitious," he said carefully. "Too ambitious?" she asked, and he heard the old uncertainty creeping into her voice. "No," he said firmly, "it's exactly ambitious enough. But why are you showing this to me?" Cida took a deep breath. "I want you to be my business partner, not just a lender, a real partner. You understand people, you know this community, and you have business sense. More than that, you believe in me." The proposal hung in the air between them like a bridge neither was sure they were ready to cross. Partnership in business often led to complications that friendship might not survive. But as Valdeci studied the plans, he saw not just a business opportunity, but a chance to build something meaningful together. "I would want to contribute more than just money," he said slowly. "I could handle the business side, accounting, suppliers, maybe even help with deliveries when customers order larger pieces." "I was hoping you'd say that," Cida smiled, and the nervousness in her expression gave way to pure joy. They spent the next 3 hours going through every detail of the plan. Valdecci asked practical questions about cash flow, seasonal variations in business, and competition. Sita had answers for most of them, and for those she didn't, she took notes with the same careful attention she gave to customer measurements. By the time they went to bed that night, they had the framework of a partnership that felt both exciting and solid. The next morning brought unexpected complications. Valdecci was drinking his coffee when his phone rang. The caller ID showed his ex-wife's name, a name he hadn't seen on his phone in over 2 years. Valdecci? Marlene's voice sounded strained, older than he remembered. "I need to talk to you." His first instinct was to hang up. Marlene had made her position clear when she left. She wanted nothing more to do with the life they had built together, including him. But something in her tone stopped him. "What do you want, Marlene?" "I made a mistake," she said simply. "A big mistake. Roberto left me 3 months ago. Took everything. The house, the car, even cleaned out our bank accounts. I have nowhere to go." Valdecci felt a familiar tightness in his chest, but it wasn't the old pain of betrayal. It was something more complex, a mixture of vindication and pity. "I'm sorry to hear that," he said, and meant it. "But I don't understand why you're calling me." "Because you're the only decent man I've ever known," she said, and he could hear tears in her voice. "I know I hurt you terribly. I know I don't deserve your help. But I'm desperate, Valdecci. I don't have anyone else." He looked toward the kitchen where he could hear Sita humming as she prepared breakfast. The sound represented everything good that had come into his life since Marlene left. He couldn't let the past destroy what he was building. "I can't help you, Marlene," he said quietly. "Not the way you're asking. Please, Valdecci, I'll do anything. I could cook for you, clean the house, whatever you need. I just need a place to stay until I get back on my feet." The irony wasn't lost on him. The woman who had abandoned him for a wealthier man was now offering to be his housekeeper. But the situation was more complicated than simple revenge or justice. "I'm not alone anymore," he said. "There's someone living here, someone important to me. Even if I wanted to help you, it wouldn't be fair to her." There was a long pause. When Marlene spoke again, her voice had changed from pleading to bitter. "Oh, I see. You found yourself a replacement quickly enough." "It's not like that," Valdecci said firmly. "And even if it were, it's none of your business. You made your choice 2 years ago." "Fine," Marlene snapped. "I hope she's worth it." The line went dead. Valdecci stared at the phone for a moment, surprised by how little the conversation had affected him. The woman who had once had the power to devastate him now seemed like a stranger, whose problems were no longer his to solve. Sita appeared in the doorway, carrying a plate of fresh bread and jam. "Everything okay? You look troubled." He told her about the call, watching her face carefully for signs of jealousy or insecurity. Instead, he saw only concern. For him, not for herself. "That must have been difficult," she said, settling into the chair across from him. "Do you think she's really in trouble, or is this some kind of manipulation?" "Probably both," Valdecci admitted. Marlene was always good at using the truth to get what she wanted, but it doesn't matter. That part of my life is over. Sita nodded, but he could see she was thinking about something. What if she comes here, to Resende? The possibility hadn't occurred to him, but now it seemed obvious. Marlene knew where he lived. If she was truly desperate, she might decide that showing up in person would be more effective than phone calls. "Then we'll deal with it," he said. "Together?" The word "together" seemed to surprise them both. It carried implications they hadn't fully discussed, commitments they hadn't formally made. But it felt right, natural, like a truth they had been circling around for months. 3 days later, as if summoned by their conversation, Marlene appeared at their door. Valdecci was at work, and Sita was alone in the house when the knock came. She opened the door to find a woman in her early 50s, well-dressed, but with the slightly desperate look of someone trying to maintain appearances while everything fell apart. "You must be her," Marlene said without preamble. The replacement. Sita had prepared for this moment since Valdesi told her about the phone call. She had imagined various scenarios and planned her responses. But seeing Marlene in person, seeing the pain and anger in her eyes, made all her preparation seem inadequate. "I'm Sita," she said simply. "Would you like to come in?" Marlene seemed taken aback by the invitation. She had clearly expected confrontation, not hospitality. "I want to talk to Valdesi. He's working, but he should be home in a few hours. You can wait if you'd like." They sat in the living room, the air thick with tension and unspoken accusations. Marlene looked around the space that had once been her home, noting the changes. New curtains, different furniture arrangements, small touches that spoke of a woman's presence. "He never bought me flowers," Marlene said suddenly, nodding toward a vase of fresh roses on the side table. 23 years of marriage, and he never once brought me flowers." "Maybe he didn't know you wanted them," Sita replied carefully. "Oh, I told him. Many times. He always said flowers were a waste of money because they die." Marlene's voice carried the accumulated bitterness of decades. "But I see he's changed his mind about that." Sita said nothing. She had learned that flowers made Valdesi happy, not because she asked for them, but because he enjoyed the simple act of brightening her day. The difference in motivation was subtle but profound. "You think you know him," Marlene continued, "but you don't. You don't know how stubborn he can be, how he shuts down when he's angry, how he can go days without talking when something bothers him." "Everyone has flaws," Sita said quietly. "His flaw is that he never fights for anything. When I told him I was leaving, you know what he did? Nothing. He just sat there and nodded like I was telling him about the weather. 23 years and he couldn't even ask me to stay." This revelation surprised Sita. The Valdesi she knew was gentle but not passive. When something mattered to him, he acted decisively. He had fought for her business when the suppliers tried to cheat her. He had fought for her dignity when people in town gossiped. Perhaps the difference was that he had never truly fought for Marlene because somewhere deep inside, he had known she didn't want to be fought for. "Maybe he knew it wouldn't change anything," Sita suggested. "Or maybe he was relieved to be rid of me," Marlene shot back. "Maybe he was already planning his next life before I even left." "That's not true," Sita said firmly. "When I met Valdesi, he was still grieving your marriage. He blamed himself for losing you." Something flickered in Marlene's eyes. Surprise, perhaps even regret. "He told you about me? He told me about the pain, about feeling like he wasn't good enough, like he had failed as a husband. It took months before he stopped apologizing for every small kindness, like he expected to be abandoned again." Marlene was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands folded in her lap. When she finally spoke, her voice was smaller, more vulnerable. "I didn't leave him because he wasn't good enough. I left because I was afraid I wasn't good enough. Roberto made me feel sophisticated, important. He took me to fancy restaurants and expensive hotels. He made me feel like someone special. And now? Now I know the difference between feeling special and being special. Roberto made me feel special because of what I could do for him. The connections I had in town, the money from selling the house, even just being seen with a younger woman. Valdesi made me special because of who I was, not what I could provide." The admission hung between them like a confession. Sita felt an unexpected wave of sympathy for this woman who had thrown away something precious because she hadn't recognized its value. They heard Valdesi's truck in the driveway. Marlene tensed, and Sita saw her transform back into the defensive, angry woman who had appeared at the door. Valdesi entered the house and stopped short when he saw both women sitting in his living room. His expression was carefully neutral, but Sita could see the tension in his shoulders. "Marlene," he said simply. "Hello, Valdisi. You look well. What do you want?" His tone wasn't hostile, but it wasn't welcoming either. "I want to come home," she said, and the words seemed to surprise even her. "I want us to try again." The silence that followed was deafening. Sita started to rise, thinking she should give them privacy, but Valdisi caught her eye and shook his head almost imperceptibly. "This is your home now too," he said to Sita, and the words carried weight beyond their simple meaning. Marlene looked back and forth between them, finally understanding the nature of their relationship. "I see," she said stiffly. "How convenient. The poor, abandoned woman shows up just when you need someone to take care of you." "That's enough," Valdisi said, and there was steel in his voice that Sita had never heard before. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I? She's younger than me, probably grateful for any man who shows her attention. Perfect replacement for the inconvenient wife who had her own opinions and her own dreams." Sita felt heat rise in her cheeks, but before she could respond, Valdisi stepped forward. "You want to know the difference between you and Sita?" he said, his voice deadly quiet. "When you had dreams, I tried to support them, but you always needed me to validate them, to make them more important than my own dreams. When Sita has dreams, she works to make them real, and she includes me because she wants to, not because she needs to." "That's not fair, Valdisi. You know our marriage was more complicated than that." "You're right," he said, surprising both women. "It was complicated. We both made mistakes. But the marriage is over, Marlene. It's been over since the day you chose Roberto over working through our problems together." Marlene's composure finally cracked. "Please, Valdisi, I have nowhere else to go. Roberto left me with nothing. I lost my job because of the scandal. My friends won't even return my calls. I'm begging you." For a moment, Valdisi's expression softened. This was the man who had rescued Sita from the roadside, who couldn't pass a stranded motorist without stopping to help. But then he looked at Sita, and she saw his resolve strengthen. "I'm sorry about your situation," he said. "I truly am, but I can't fix it for you. You made choices, and now you have to live with the consequences, just like I had to." "So that's it? 23 years of marriage means nothing?" "It means everything," Valdisi said quietly. "It taught me what I don't want and what I do want. I won't make the same mistakes again." Marlene stood up, gathering her purse and what remained of her dignity. "Fine. I hope you'll be very happy together, but don't expect it to last. When the novelty wears off and she sees who you really are, she'll leave too. They always do." She walked to the door, then turned back one final time. "And when she does, don't come looking for me. I won't be available to pick up the pieces again." The door slammed behind her with a finality that seemed to shake the entire house. Valdisi stood motionless for several minutes, staring at the closed door as if he could still see Marlene through it. "Are you okay?" Sita asked softly. He turned to her, and she was surprised to see not sadness in his eyes, but relief. "Yes," he said. "For the first time in 2 years, I'm completely okay." That night, they sat on the porch watching the stars and talking about everything except Marlene's visit. But her words hung in the air between them like smoke from a distant fire. "Do you think she's right?" Sita asked finally. "About me being a replacement? About this not lasting?" Valdisi was quiet for so long that she began to regret asking the question. When he finally spoke, his voice was thoughtful, measured. "I think Marlene sees the world through the lens of her own fears," he said. "She was always afraid of being abandoned, so she abandoned others first. She was afraid of not being good enough, so she constantly needed proof of her worth." "That doesn't answer my question, doesn't it?" He turned to look at her. "You're not my replacement for Marlene, any more than I'm your replacement for Antonio. We're not trying to recreate our old lives with new people. we're creating something entirely different." Sita nodded, but he could sense her continued uncertainty. "There's something else," he continued. "Something I've been thinking about since we started planning the new atelier." She waited, giving him space to find his words. "I think I'm falling in love with you," he said simply. "Not with the idea of having someone to take care of, not with the comfort of not being alone. With you, with your strength, your determination, the way you hum when you're concentrating on a difficult seam. With the woman who built a successful business from nothing, who teaches young girls that they can be independent and strong." The words hung between them like a bridge waiting to be crossed. Sita felt her heart racing, but also a deep sense of rightness, as if pieces of a puzzle were finally fitting together. "I think I'm falling in love with you too," she said, "and that terrifies me. Because of Antonio? Because of me? Because I don't know if I remember how to trust someone with my heart. Because what if Marlene is right? What if I am just grateful for any attention and I'm mistaking gratitude for love?" Valdacy reached for her hand, intertwining the fingers in the gesture that had become natural between them. "Then we'll figure it out together," he said. "We don't have to rush anything. We don't have to make promises we're not ready to keep, but we also don't have to let fear keep us from exploring what this could be." 3 months later, the new atelier opened with a celebration that drew people from 3 neighboring towns. The space was everything Sita had envisioned and more. Bright, welcoming, filled with the energy of women learning new skills and building their own futures. Valdacy had proven to be a natural business partner. He handled the financial side with the same steady competence he brought to everything else. But more than that, he understood the vision behind the business. He had suggested the cafe corner where women could gather and share ideas. He had arranged for local suppliers to offer materials at wholesale prices. He had even convinced the bank to sponsor a microloan program for women who wanted to start their own clothing businesses. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was attended by the mayor, the local newspaper, and what seemed like half the town. Sita stood in front of her dream made manifest, wearing a dress she had designed and sewn herself, a symbol of how far she had traveled from the broken woman Valdacy had found by the roadside. In her speech, she thanked her partner, her teachers, her first customers, and the community that had embraced her. But when she looked out at the crowd, her eyes found Valdacy's, and she saw in his expression something that made her heart skip: pride. Not possessive pride, but the deep satisfaction of watching someone you love achieve their dreams. That night, as they cleaned up after the party, Sita found herself humming the song that had been playing on Valdacy's radio the day they first met. He heard it and smiled. "You know," he said, "I used to hate that song. It reminded me too much of everything I had lost. And now it reminds me of everything I found." They finished cleaning in comfortable silence, partners in work as they had become partners in life. The question of marriage had come up occasionally in recent months, but neither felt the need to rush toward formal commitment. What they had built together was too precious to risk changing precipitously. But that night, as they walked home through streets decorated with Christmas lights, Saprida found herself thinking about the future in ways she hadn't dared to before. Not just the immediate future of the business, but the long future. Shared dreams, shared challenges, maybe even shared children, if fate granted them that gift. "Valdacy," she said as they reached their front door, "do you ever think about what we'll be like in 10 years? He considered the question seriously, as he did all her questions. "I think we'll be exactly who we are now, only more so. You'll probably have expanded the business again, maybe started a fashion school. I'll probably have more gray hair and complain more about my back." She laughed, but pressed on. "Do you think we'll still be happy?" "I think happiness isn't something that just happens to you," he said, pulling out his keys. "I think it's something you build, day by day, choice by choice, and I think we're pretty good builders." Inside the house, they settled into their evening routine. Sida reviewing the day's receipts, Valdacy planning the next day's deliveries. But there was a new energy between them, a sense of possibilities opening rather than closing. As they prepared for bed, Saida caught sight of herself in the mirror and was surprised by what she saw. The woman looking back at her bore little resemblance to the one who had climbed into Valdesi's truck that day in March. This woman stood straight, smiled easily, looked at the world with confidence rather than fear. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" Valdesi asked, emerging from the bathroom. "For seeing who I could become before I could see it myself." He crossed the room and took her hands, just as he had that first night when he had promised she was safe. "You did the becoming, Saida. I just provided the space for it to happen." They stood there for a moment, hands joined, looking at each other with the clear eyes of people who had found something rare and precious. Outside, Resende slept peacefully under its blanket of stars, unaware that two of its citizens had just crossed another bridge on their journey toward a shared future. The next morning brought news that would test everything they had built together. Valdesi's phone rang before dawn, his dispatcher calling with an emergency. There had been an accident on the highway, and several drivers were needed immediately for a major furniture delivery to Sao Paulo. The job would take him away for at least a week, possibly longer. As Valdesi prepared to leave, Sita felt an old, familiar fear creeping up her spine. Antonio had left for work one morning and never returned. Intellectually, she knew this was different, but emotions didn't always listen to logic. "Hey," Valdesi said, noticing her expression, "what's wrong?" "Nothing," she said automatically, then caught herself. "Actually, something. I'm scared you won't come back." He stopped packing and sat down beside her on the bed. "Because of Antonio?" "Because of Antonio. Because of how easily good things can disappear. Because I've gotten used to being happy, and that makes me vulnerable again." Valdesi was quiet for a moment, understanding that this was about more than just a week-long trip. This was about trust, about the courage to love someone when you knew how much it could hurt to lose them. "I can't promise that nothing will ever happen to me," he said finally. "Life doesn't come with guarantees, but I can promise that I will do everything in my power to come back to you, because this is where I belong." What if that's not enough? What if the universe decides it's my turn to lose someone again? Then we'll have had whatever time we were given, and it will have been worth it. But Sita, you can't build a future while constantly looking over your shoulder at the past. At some point, you have to choose to trust. She nodded, knowing he was right, but struggling to feel it as well as understand it. "I'm working on it. Some days are easier than others." That's all any of us can do. Work on it one day at a time. He finished packing and loaded his truck while she made him coffee and sandwiches for the road. At the door, he kissed her goodbye. Not the casual peck they usually exchanged, but a real kiss that carried the weight of unspoken promises. "Take care of our business while I'm gone," he said. "Take care of yourself while you're gone," she replied. The week that followed was both harder and easier than Sita had expected. Harder because she missed Valdesi's steady presence, the comfort of knowing someone cared about her daily struggles and small victories. Easier because she discovered she could handle the loneliness without falling apart. The atelier kept her busy. 2 new students enrolled in the evening classes, and she received an order for bridesmaid dresses that would challenge her skills in new ways. She found herself looking forward to telling Valdesi about each small triumph, but also taking satisfaction in her own competence. On Thursday evening, as she was locking up the atelier, her phone rang. Valdesi's name appeared on the screen, and she felt her heart lift with relief. "How are you?" she asked immediately. "Tired but fine. Missing you. How's the business?" She told him about the new students, the dress order, the supply issues she had resolved with one of their vendors. As she talked, she realized she was sharing not as someone seeking approval, but as a partner reporting on their mutual enterprise. "I'm proud of you," he said when she finished. "You sound like you're exactly where you belong." "I am, but I'll be happier when you're back where you belong too." They talked for another hour, sharing the small details of their separate days. When they finally said goodbye, Sita felt not the old panic of abandonment, but the quiet confidence of someone who knew she was loved and would see that love again soon. Valdesi returned on Saturday afternoon, bearing gifts, fabric samples from Sao Paulo's garment district, and stories of the fashion trends he had observed in the big city. But more than that, he returned with the easy satisfaction of someone coming home to exactly where he wanted to be. That evening, as they sat on their porch watching the sunset over Resende, Sita made a decision that had been forming in her mind all week. "I want to marry you," she said suddenly. Valdesi nearly dropped his coffee cup. "What? I want to marry you. Not because I need security, not because I'm afraid of being alone, but because I want to build a life with you that's bigger than either of us could create alone." He set down his cup carefully and turned to face her fully. "Are you sure? We don't have to rush anything." "I'm not rushing. I'm choosing. I'm choosing to trust, to hope, to commit to someone who deserves my commitment. I'm choosing you." The proposal was so quintessentially Sita, direct, thoughtful, and entirely her own, that Valdesi felt his heart might overflow with tenderness. This wasn't a woman desperate for rescue or security. This was a strong, independent woman choosing partnership from a position of strength. "Yes," he said simply. "Yes, I want to marry you too." They were married 3 months later in a ceremony that perfectly reflected who they had become together. The service was held in the community center where Sita taught her classes, officiated by the local judge who had helped her navigate the legal requirements for starting her business. Instead of traditional wedding parties, they were surrounded by the community that had supported their individual growth and their partnership. Sita wore a dress of her own design, elegant in its simplicity, a creation that spoke of confidence rather than display. Valdesi wore a suit he had owned for years, but which somehow looked transformed by the occasion. Their vows were brief but deeply personal. They promised not to complete each other. They were already complete individuals, but to complement each other, to build together what neither could build alone, to choose each other daily, even when that choice required courage. As the judge pronounced them married, the assembled community erupted in applause that seemed to shake the walls of the building. These people had watched both Sita and Valdesi emerge from the ashes of their former lives. They had witnessed the careful, respectful way these two wounded people had helped each other heal. This marriage felt like a victory for everyone who believed that love was possible even after loss, that second chances could be even more precious than first ones. The reception was held in the atelier, which had been transformed for the occasion with flowers, lights, and tables laden with food prepared by friends and neighbors. Local musicians played while couples danced between the sewing machines and fabric displays, creating a celebration that was uniquely theirs. Late in the evening, as the party wound down and guests began to drift home, Sita and Valdesi found themselves alone in the space that represented everything they had built together. She was still in her wedding dress, he had loosened his tie, and they swayed together to music that existed only in their hearts. "No regrets?" he asked softly. "Only one," she said, and felt him tense slightly. "I regret that it took us so long to get here. Think of all the time we wasted being afraid." "Maybe we needed that time," he suggested. "Maybe we had to become the people we are now before we could create this." Sita considered this, thinking of all the experiences that had shaped them. His failed marriage, her abandonment, the slow process of rebuilding their lives separately before choosing to build together. Perhaps he was right. Perhaps every heartbreak, every disappointment, every moment of courage had been necessary preparation for this moment. "In that case," she said, "I regret nothing at all." They continued dancing as the night deepened around them, two people who had learned that sometimes the most beautiful things grow in the spaces left by what has been lost. Outside, Resende slept peacefully, unaware that it had witnessed a small miracle, the transformation of two broken hearts into one strong partnership. The morning after their wedding, they woke in the same house where they had been living for months, but everything felt different. Not because external circumstances had changed, but because they had finally fully committed to the life they had been building together. Over breakfast, they discussed their honeymoon plans, a trip to the coast where they would spend a week doing nothing but walking on beaches and sleeping late. But more importantly, they talked about their return, about the expansion plans for the atelier, about Valdesi's decision to transition from long-distance trucking to local delivery services that would allow him to be home every night. As they prepared to leave for their honeymoon, Sita took one last look around their home. A year ago, she had been a woman with nothing but the clothes on her back and a lifetime of disappointment behind her. Now she was a successful businesswoman, a beloved member of her community, and a wife to a man who saw her clearly and loved her completely. The transformation hadn't happened overnight. It had required daily choices, small acts of courage, and the gradual rebuilding of trust in herself and in the possibility of happiness. But it had happened, as surely as seedlings eventually become trees given enough time, water, and sunlight. Valdesi appeared with their suitcases, and together they walked out to the truck that had carried them through so many phases of their relationship. As they drove away from Resende toward the coast and their future together, Sita allowed herself to feel something she had thought lost forever. Not just happiness, but the quiet confidence that this happiness was built on a foundation strong enough to weather whatever storms might come. Behind them, the atelier sat ready for their return, a testament to the power of determination, partnership, and the courage to begin again. Ahead of them lay the rest of their lives, unwritten but no longer uncertain. They had learned the most important lesson of all, that love, real love, isn't about finding someone to complete you, but about finding someone with whom you can build something larger and more beautiful than either of you could create alone. The truck carried them toward the horizon, toward beaches and lazy mornings and the simple pleasure of time together. But more than that, it carried them toward a future they had chosen together, built together, and would continue to create together, one day, one choice, one small act of love at a time. And in that future, there would be challenges and joys, ordinary days and extraordinary moments, the full richness of a life shared by two people who had learned that sometimes the best endings are actually new beginnings in disguise.